Are you feeling the same unease that I'm feeling? When you scroll through social media, whether it be the YouTube shorts or it be TikTok or any platform that you're on, you're sensing this stress, this distrust, this downright anger. And it's all coming from a place of financial insecurity and financial worry. When you look at the politics that is existing today, the rate of inflation, the global tension that exists, and diplomatic relationships that are deteriorating, it makes us wonder what is going to be happening in 2025. And it's a valid concern. But fear not, today we're going to be looking at the trends that have been occurring and what we're going to be doing to prepare ourselves in case anything should happen. Because if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, as I've always said to you, my hackers. So do not worry. Let's just sit down, see what is happening in the economy, in the global hemisphere, and develop a plan to beat anything or to be prepared for anything that might happen. I am going to be sharing with you practical tips that you can put in place right now to make you more financially secure and have more peace of mind as we head further into 2025, the land of uncertainty. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Next Level Life Hacks, where we take the next steps needed to grow towards our financial freedom and our success. Now, as I mentioned before, it's time to make a plan. It makes no sense we sit and worry because yes, there is some amount of uncertainty. We do not know what is happening with this housing market bubble. We are hearing as well that the United States is overdue for a recession. We are hearing that the economy is being kept afloat in the past just for the administration to be re-elected. And we are hearing that corrective measures are going to be taken throughout the new administration that is going to keep things in line, or it's going to make things worse. We also know that the rest of the world is sitting with bated breath in terms of what is happening in the US economy, because remember, the US dollar is the world reserve currency. So therefore, we need to take stock of what is happening in the United States, even if you are outside of the United States, to know what the implications are for your country or your island. So the first step that we're going to be taking to prepare ourselves and to make ourselves not vulnerable for whatever crisis or financial situation that might happen later on this year is that we are going to be manage our debt wisely. And when I say manage our debt wisely, we particularly know that the main culprit are those credit cards. When we look at the statistics, the credit card debt has raised to $1.7 trillion for 2024. That figure does not even include like personal loans and mortgages. Those are separate amounts. So what is the true debt status of persons in the United States or across the world? The reality is that we are broke. Because unless we clear these debts, we are in a false reality thinking that we have any money to spend. And unless we clear these debts, then we are not knowing what our true financial position it really is. So that's the first thing, that we're going to be clearing these credit card debts, because many of them are averaging like a 20% interest rate. So if it is that you are not clearing your statement balance each month and not just making those minimum payments, it means you are carrying an interest rate that you cannot afford. So what we need to do right now is to limit the use of credit cards. Use them for the essentials, like maybe your utility bills and other things that you know are a must pay. And you can set them up on auto pay so that those critical bills are paid on a monthly basis. But outside of that, pay cash. If it is that your credit card bills are not at a current status, then you need to develop a plan to clear those balances as quickly as possible. And you therefore need to start with the highest interest rate credit cards so that you can get rid of the unnecessary extra money that you are spending each month. Another option for you is that if you are carrying a high debt with these high interest rate credit cards, then you could refinance these loans, because a lot of these personal loans, they have a much lower interest rate than the credit card rate, so you could be capitalizing on spending less on interest. However, be careful with these refinancing options because you need to know what stage you are in your repayment options or your repayment term of your current loans, so that you are not starting over and ending up paying more in interest because you could have just sacrificed and completed the previous term rather than starting all over with a refinancing option. Your next strategy to have more peace of mind and prepare yourself for what might be coming in the financial world is that you are going to be setting and building a financial plan and to set specific goals. Now you're going to be writing down your goals because statistics and research shows that goals that are actually written actually get accomplished. So therefore, if it is that statistics shows that, then we need to do that because we need to improve our odds of attaining our goals. Now remember that little B word that I've often spoken about and said that if you do not have this, then you are not serious about your finance? Yes, that B word is budget. We need to develop a written, clear budget that has everything itemized in terms of our income and in terms of our expenses. And when we have documented or itemized our expenses, we can clearly see the areas that we need to adjust and we need to cut. Another reason why we need to be documented our expenses is that for November of 2024, inflation went up by 2.7% in the United States. That's an increase over the previous month, just to show you how things are being increased. And remember that 2.7% does not necessarily mean that everything went up 2.7%. You might have some items that went up by 20, 30, 40%, while some items went up by maybe 0.5 or some negligible amount, while the average comes out at 2.7%. Another thing is that when you start itemizing things that you really need, you can start buying and stocking up things in bulk, things that are of a non-perishable nature like canned items, because let's give you an example. If it is that in October of last year, you did some bulk purchases of non-perishable items, you would have actually saved yourself that average 2.7% on those items, and that could be money back in your pocket. So therefore, some items have actually gone up by the 20 or 30%. You could be seeing significant savings in your pocket. So that's one strategy that you could use. Your next strategy in this time of uncertainty, and I've said it so many times, is to prepare for emergencies. Now, emergencies by nature are unpredictable, but we can prepare for them. And one of the things that we can do is to develop an emergency fund, because we might not be sure of our job security in terms of will there be redundancies or layoffs, or will we be terminated during 2025 or beyond. So therefore, the rule of thumb financially is that we should accumulate 3 to 6 months worth of expense so that we can be safe and have a security bed in case anything should happen. So say for example, after you've done your budget, and notice that I strategically placed this after you developing your budget. So from your budget, you can clearly identify what your level of expenses are, and you are going to multiply that amount by 3 to 6. So therefore, if it is that your monthly expenses come to $5,000, then you need to develop a savings amount of $15,000 to $30,000. Now it is said that the more that you would accumulate is dependent on your responsibilities. So for example, if you have a family, then you need to make sure that your emergency fund are 6 months and beyond, so that you can have a good safety net to fall back on. Because as I said before, listen good, it only takes one medical emergency or legal emergency to run you into a financial problem. I used to say just a medical emergency, but a friend of mine last week said, no, remember that just one legal complication or problem and you having to go and get legal representation can wipe you out as well. That's why things like insurance are always good to have to protect you. And what that does not cover, any out-of-pocket expenses, you need to have a solid emergency fund. Your next strategy to beat your anxiety that is happening now is that you're going to adopt a mindset of minimalism. Minimalism meaning that you need to cut back on your expenses. Certain unnecessary things in your lifestyle can be cut back on, so that guess what? Your expenses will really be cut and you can actually survive on much less. So if your expenses were normally $5,000 and you see by cutting certain unnecessary things you drop to $3,000, you realize that your emergency fund can actually stretch much further and you do not need so much money to survive on a monthly basis, because as we said, we do not know what the future holds. So therefore, minimalize your lifestyle so that you can survive on much less. Let me give you a quick example. If, for example, you normally have takeout or dine out and you normally spend $50 per week. Remember I said that the average in the United States right now is $191 per month on eating out. So this $50 per week is quite realistic based on the average. If you were to cut that back by half and say, okay, once or twice I'm going to be dining out, cut that to $25 per week. Do you realize that actually cutting back from that $50 to $25 per week will actually save you approximately $1,200 every year? For some person, that is 1 month's rent. So therefore, it is quite practical that you just cutting back on that dining out can have you an extra month of rent payment in your pocket. Is to, and you're in the right place doing this right now, is to stay informed instead of being panicky. And that's another reason for you to subscribe to this channel right now, because it is a way to keep you updated on the developments in the economy so that it prevents you from panicking. Because I try to keep things as up to date as possible based on the trending issues in the economy. So it is a way for you to be informed. Subscribe to other news channels as well, but don't go too overboard though in terms of the news information. I personally, every morning I listen to the NBC nightly news that gives you like a 15 to 20 minute summary of what the news report was the night before. I can only tolerate that much. Some persons, they stay tuned into a news channel 24/7, like my father. I cannot do that because that is news overload. That 15 to 20 minute, that synopsis of the main news items keep me updated enough so that I can be aware of current affairs. And if I'm having a conversation with my co-workers or my family or anyone else, at least I'm up to date with what is happening in the world rather than being ignorant. But do not be too consumed in the news because it might lead you to a place of anxiety and panicking unnecessarily. My last advice would be for you to invest in your future. And that is to really increase your value. In the job world, the more valuable you are to your employer, the more indisposable you really are. Because as a manager myself, I can tell you, if it is that we are going to be rationalizing the staff or we're going to be cutting numbers, the persons who are of most value in terms of whether it be their productivity, their efficiency, or it is their sales attainment if you are in a sales environment, then you are the ones that will be most likely kept on the job. So therefore, always recertify yourself, always invest in yourself so that you are more qualified, more experienced, more certified than everyone else around you. Now also, you need to invest as well in your future finances. Increase your savings amount. If it is that you are saving nothing now, increase to 5 or 10% of your gross income. If you are doing something right now, increase it to 15 to 20% so that you have more cash stockpiled so that you can protect yourself regarding the uncertainty of the financial future that you know you are feeling inside of you. And always follow your gut feeling because it always speaks to a future reality. Another way for you to invest is known as CPA. And no, we are not talking about the accountant this time. We are talking about a system of saving and investing that is consistent, passive, and automatic. Set it and leave it. Do your automatic deductions to your investment products or into a high interest yielding savings account from your salary account so that you don't have to think about it. It does not require any action, hence it is passive, it is consistent, so therefore it is always accumulating, building, and it is capitalizing on the 8th wonder of the world. What's the 8th wonder of the world? Compound interest. So ideally, you want your amounts being transferred to some sort of index fund that has shown good interest rates over the last 10 to 20 years so that you can see your money increase. And once you know that something is automatically being saved or invested, you have more peace of mind and you can feel more safe regarding your future. And remember, especially if you have a family, you do have a responsibility to make sure that they are protected financially and that they are not in jeopardy in case of anything that might happen that you have that gut feeling about. In concluding, the only person who can really protect you in the future is really the current you. So therefore, unless you put things in place now as contingency or to mitigate what might happen in the future, you are really exposed, and that's not a position you want you or your family to be in. So therefore, follow the examples or the tips that I gave you earlier. Increase your savings, increase your skills and your value, do a budget to know how much you're spending or wasting each month so that you can protect yourself for the future. Again, if you know anyone that might benefit from this content, please feel free to share this content with them as we all look out for each other and to make sure that everyone is prepared for what might happen in the future. I appreciate you spending this time with me. I do not take it for granted that you keep showing up for me in each content. Keep on supporting as we go towards our financial success, and see you in the next video.